That is very fascinating. I did not know that. Huh, I did not know that either. That is incredible. Guys, have you seen the new paleontology reports that have been coming down the pipeline lately? I mean, I'm not usually into archaeology or anything like that. I mean, personally, the whole concept of it is pretty boring. Just a bunch of people out in the wastelands of the world digging up bones. Oh, look, here's a Tyrannosaurus Rex femur. Like, whatever. But no, this new stuff is extraordinarily fascinating. We have learned in just the last few weeks that the Tyrannosaurus Rex, in fact, had a mounted rocket launcher on its back that it would actually stalk its prey with and launch homing missiles. It's the first animal to ever utilize heat-seeking based technology in that way. Not only that, but the Stegosaurus, you know, it's impressive enough with just like the giant armor and spikes coming out of it and its clubbed tail. But no, it was actually equipped with four-wheel drive. That's right, this dinosaur was actually equipped to run on the ground using tires. You know, amazing evolutionary traits. Truly remarkable. And, you know, the cutting edge of it all, pterosaurs, like the pterodactyl, was actually able to leave Earth orbit. They're still flying around out there, making their own settlements on other planets. Really amazing. It just took a really long time for paleontologists to catch up to what dinosaurs were really about. You know, like that whole debate, like whether or not like the Tyrannosaurus had feathers. You know, it's like, oh, they don't have feathers, and now they do have feathers, and now they don't have feathers again. You know, it's not an exact, you know, you don't exactly know what's going on every single moment. Every time you dig up a new fossil, there's new research, and that's just what happened. Okay, so, in the last chapter of One Piece, chapter 1028, we get to see the true power of dinosaurs as the mighty behemoths that have ruled this land for hundreds of millions of years. So, remember back when Sasaki turned into a Triceratops and then used the frills of its, like, shield in order to fly like a damn helicopter? Sasaki phrased it like that was the power of a Triceratops. Like, that was just what Triceratops were able to do back in the day. Now, when Sasaki said that, I thought he was just being funny. You know, he doesn't really look like much of a comedian, but alright, that's obviously a joke. Because Queen works for Kaido, and Queen is a cyborg, of course, a cyborg brachiosaur, obviously. And so I was like, all right. You know, he's like, oh yeah, this is how Triceratops really were. Or maybe like Queen lied to him and actually is like, oh no, this is what a real Triceratops is capable of doing. You should be able to fly just using your frills as a helicopter blade, right? And so I just wrote that off and I didn't really think about it. In the last chapter, though, when Queen turns into a brachiosaur, he says pretty much the exact same thing. He's like fighting Sanji as a cyborg using his like extendable arms and neck and everything, and his laser beams and all that stuff. But then he decides, you know what? I'm not even going to use my technology. I'm just going to crush you with the raw power of a dinosaur. And he goes into his full brachiosaur form, and it's like, oh man, what's he going to do? And he separates his tail and his neck, so he flings himself out of his body, separating himself from the rest of himself, turns into a giant brachiosaur snake, and crushes Sanji. And so he just says, yeah, this is just what dinosaurs were able to do. And he goes on to confirm that by pointing over where his body was, and he's like, you know, if I was just an ordinary run-of-the-mill brachiosaur, after I separate my tail and my neck from my body would just be sitting there doing nothing. But I am a scientist, a funky scientist, zuma, 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 and so I attached missile launchers to my brachiosaur body, which will fire on my command, alright? So, seemingly to imply that all brachiosaurs are capable of separating their necks and their tails from their bodies and launching them out like a freaking damn action figure, okay? It's just the modifications that he made was adding the rocket launchers to the brachiosaur, because rocket launchers on a dinosaur, okay, that's going one step too far. But, you know, the neck and firing, like, let's push this button, click, and it fires off, that's hard science right there. That's hard science, alright? Okay, so I'm just gonna go along with the logic at this point that this is how Oda's dinosaurs work in the One Piece world. Like, a long, long time ago, dinosaurs walked the earth of One Piece just as they did with ours, and they were just able to do this kind of stuff, okay? Actually, we actually know about this because dinosaurs already exist in One Piece. We saw them on Little Garden. Unfortunately, we did not see any Triceratops flying around like, you know, like... Oh my god, that would have made Jurassic Park so cooler, right? The scene in Jurassic Park where they arrive in the Jeep and, Hammond gets out and he's just like, welcome to Jurassic Park. Da-na-na-na-na. Na-na, like an entire herd of Triceratops are just flying by. It's like, look at the majestic Triceratops, flying like a helicopter, like the days of old. Professor Grant, what would you say? Is like, that's how we always knew that they were able to fly, but seeing it in person is incredible. And look at the majestic brachiosaurs, flying, sending their necks flying in order to constrict their enemies from miles away. Truly fascinating creatures, spared no expense. So it's like, yeah, but they didn't do that at Little Garden, but, to keep in mind, that's like a separate island, like, it's like, evolution took a while there, maybe that's like a deviation of the species, okay? Honestly, I think it's just Oda really loving things like, Super Sentai and robots, Oda is a big fan of that kind of stuff, I mean, just look at Frankie, and so I think Oda, when he was designing the Ryu no Mi, the ancient Ryu no Mis, the dinosaur fruits, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna have fun with this, it's my manga. Screw it. Wouldn't it be awesome? That's a very childish way of looking at it. Like, what if a Triceratops could spin its neck frill in order to fly? But it's like, you know what? Hold my beer. I got this. And Oda draws it, and it looks incredible, all right? What if brachiosaurs could fire their necks? I got this, okay? So you know what? Screw it. Screw the whole thing. Let's just go down the list of all the dinosaurs in the series. There's 6 ancient Ryu no Mi fruits, and let's talk about all the other abilities that they could do. So let's start with Drake's fruit, all right? Drake is an Allosaurus, all right? Not a Tyrannosaurus, he's an Allosaurus, all right? But he's basically a Tyrannosaurus, big, giant dinosaur, a lot of rows of razor-sharp teeth, short, arms or whatever, like, hi, everybody, how you doing? That's an Allosaurus, okay. So we haven't really seen Drake do anything all that weird with his ability. He usually just turns into a giant dinosaur and tries to, like, bite or devour his enemies, okay? He can also, like, chase them down because he's got some leg strength. He's got a tail, too. So let's take it one step further. I'm gonna say Drake can breathe fire. I'm gonna say he can breathe fire. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna say he can breathe Godzilla's atomic breath, okay? Why not? If any character in the One Piece world is gonna be able to turn into a giant dinosaur like Godzilla, a Godzilla-esque sort of dinosaur, and breathe the atomic breath, just make it Drake. Why not? And you could just say, oh yeah, Allosaur, they have like an organ in their body that allows them to generate atomic energy. That's common knowledge, everyone knows that. It just, maybe Drake hasn't used it yet. Oh, here's another idea. Maybe it's Sasaki and Queen awakening to their dinosaur fruits that led them to use all these special abilities, right? Maybe those dinosaurs on Little Garden, they didn't just try hard enough, they were just weak, but true dinosaurs, when they awaken to their dino primal Power Rangers to the max, that's when they're able to truly separate themselves. There's a light in the distance. See them coming closer with the force of ages, centuries gone by. Yeah, Mighty Morphin. I was born in 1993. That was when Mighty Morphin came out, so I didn't really watch Power Rangers when I was like 2 months old. So, Dino Thunder when I was like 10, that was more my speed. But anyway, yeah, so maybe that's the situation there. So maybe if Drake awakens to his Allosaur fruit, he'll be able to breathe fire or atomic breath or maybe electricity or whatever. He can just breathe whatever he wants. Okay, there you go. That's the special ability of the Allosaur fruit. We already know the power of the Brachiosaur being able to separate your body and constrict the enemy. We know that. What about Ulti's Pachycephalosaurus fruit? That's a fun thing to say. We didn't really see her utilize anything either. And you know what, though? This makes sense. It really does, if you're going to go along with the awakening idea. Because Sasaki is an older member of the Tobiropo. He might have had his fruit for longer. Ulti and Page 1 are the youngest members of the Tobiropo. We didn't really see them utilize any special abilities with their fruits. Ulti and Page 1 just kind of turned into regular dinosaurs and just attacked the enemy the way that you would expect dinosaurs to attack enemies, right? But, so Ulti turns into a Pachycephalosaurus. It's basically a dinosaur that has a really hard noggin, in order to ram into the enemy or whatever like that. Headbutts are like the Pachycephalosaurus's deal. So I was thinking, okay, because just ramming into the enemy, how about Ulti's special dinosaur ability is she turns into like an armadillo, sort of. She like kind of coils up into a ball, and then, you know, little thrusters come out, and then she can propel herself around the battlefield like a marble or whatever, like that kid from Medaka Box, you know, with the rubber balls and just bouncing all over the freaking place and just wrecking everybody's shit. That sounds like a good idea. You know, she awakens to the power of the Pachycephalosaurus, and she just like coils up like a cannonball, little boosters come out, and she's like knocking all over the battlefield, wrecking everybody's day. All right, that seems like a good idea for Ulti. As for page 1, he's the Spinosaur. I actually have a good one with this, okay? So while Oda was drawing the first appearance of page 1 as a Spinosaurus, okay, his tail was just like an ordinary like dinosaur lizard-esque tail. There was actually some discoveries in the field of paleontology. They aren't fake. They're actually like real discoveries that the Spinosaur's tail might have actually have been webbed. Like it would have been designed in order to actually swim. So the Spinosaur, you know, might have actually been more of an aquatic sort of dinosaur, being able to swim around using its tail to kind of like propel itself in the water. Okay, and so Oda, the next time that page 1 transformed into the Spinosaur, actually drew in the gills. You know, it's like, oh, okay, we found out some new stuff about dinosaurs, I'll include that, okay? So I like to think that page 1's upgraded form would be that he can use his tail as like a boat propeller. Like literally as a boat propeller. Like his tail is like this and it's just and then it just like gets in the water and he can freaking sail around. He can, you know, all the way around Onigashima. He's doing laps around Onigashima. It's like with Brook's ability, where Brook has a devil fruit, but he's so light that he can actually run on the water. So he's not actually in the water, he's running on top of it. Maybe something similar to page 1. Like his feet turn into like skis and then his tail just propels himself and just like he's just like, you know, skimming across the water. It's not even that big of a deal. He's not actually in the water, so the devil fruit weakness doesn't apply. And yeah, he's an aquatic Spinosaur, so it's like rocketing towards you, toward the shore, and it's just like, rawr, like this giant Spinosaur is about to bite your head off. Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense, definitely. So now we get, of course, to probably the strongest user of a dinosaur fruit on the entire island. Sorry, Queen. I'm talking about King, all right? And he actually doesn't have a dinosaur fruit. He has a pteranodon fruit, which is a pterosaur, not a dinosaur. But still, close enough. Whatever. It's still the Ryu no Mi, okay? So, there's a lot of stuff about King that's really cool. Like, he can, you know, summon fireballs already, which, wait a second. Hold on. Is that the ability of his species, of the Lunarians, or is that the ability of him being a Pteranodon? Actually, no, it's the ability of him being a Lunarian, because Queen did specify that. When Sanji lit his leg on fire to use Diabu Jumbe, and he went to go kick Queen, you know, it was Queen saying, like, oh, what are you, a Lunarian or something? So, okay, I think the fire, that has nothing to do with the fact King is a Pteranodon. That's just something indicative of his own species, okay? So, with that being said, we saw his hybrid form a couple chapters ago, where basically King is like a normal human, like body, but then his arms turn into like the Pteranodon wings, and so kind of like bat wings a little bit there, and so he has like little hooks in order to grab onto. So I was thinking maybe, and also this kind of goes along with the idea of King dressed up in like the BDSM suit or whatever, like maybe we could go a little bit Hellraiser with this. We can go like Pinhead with this, and it is almost Halloween, so why not? What if King can like fire off the hooks on his arms from, you know, his body, and there's like chains attached to them? Why are there chains that are part of his dinosaur body? Because One Piece. He fires them off and like grapples his opponent and chains them up and like knocks him to the ground. That would also go along with King's sort of aesthetic of like underhanded tactics. You know, like when Zoro tries to cut his sword and he uses that little switch to make the sword breaker to like grab his katanas. You know, that would make sense if King has like hidden hooks and blades and stuff inside of not just his suit or his blade, his weapon, but also like his body itself is like, you know, chains and hooks that could come out and grab people and drag them in and stuff like that, right? Maybe he could turn his head into the Pteranodon beak, and then he could fire that off like a spear. You know, maybe it could even return to him, just like Queen can fire off his neck and it like flies around and he could just like rejoin his body whenever. Maybe King can like fire off his beak and it flies around and like tries to stab Zoro at the same time. Why not? That is the question at this point. Why the hell not? You know, it's really crazy. I made a whole video about this, like, when Oda first started introducing, like, dinosaurs as part of Kaido's crew, like, when we saw Page 1 turn into a Spinosaur. I'm like, oh man, this is so interesting. You know, think of all the really unique dinosaurs that exist. You know, like, there's literally thousands of species, you know, more than that, honestly. Oda could take into inspiration to be like, all these dinosaurs that live in the water, there's flying, you know, pterosaurs, there's dinosaurs and all this stuff, they have the armor. I'm still kind of upset we did not see a Stegosaurus or a Velociraptor at any point during this story. But we still might, though. There might be other ancient Ryuryu nomes that just weren't members of Kaido's crew, right? We could run into another, you know, the Velociraptor fruit at some point. Why not? But it's like, I made a whole video. I have this big book on dinosaurs. I was going through it. I'm like, man, that would seem like an interesting one. That would seem like an interesting one. And I'm sure, like, the appearance of the dinosaur definitely lended to Oda putting it in the story. Like, the Triceratops just looks cool itself. Like, it's a very iconic dinosaur. Did you ever see Land Before Time? Of course, you know, Billy, the blue Power Ranger. I went as him when I was like 5 years old for Halloween. But then he's like, you know what? I can make them even cooler, right? And it's probably like, once again, Oda kind of reliving when he was a kid, or like a lot of kids are like, man, that'd be really cool if dinosaurs could do this or that, and all the crazy, like, even before Power Rangers, there were like dinosaur, like, transforming. I think it was Transformers in the 80s that really started it. You know, you could have, oh, here's a Triceratops action figure. You push this button and a missile fires out of its mouth. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. But man, that's gonna sell like hotcakes. I'll tell you what. You know? Alright, what would the Velociraptor be able to do? I'm gonna say the Velociraptor would be able to run probably super, super fast. Oh, maybe like, okay, the Velociraptors have those really sharp talons. Maybe the Velociraptors in One Piece could like create katanas with their talons. Like they run up and then they jump up and like giant blades, like, you know, like Wolverine's claws or whatever comes out and they like fight that way like swordsmen's do, okay? That would be nice. And then we have the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We have, well, the Dragon Zord, which, you know, that's Kaido basically. Kaido is the Dragon Zord. He pulls out a flute, you know, do, 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 do. But let's see here. We have, well, the Mastodon, or Mammoth, because it was the Mammoth in Zyuranger. It was, you know, the Mammoth Ranger, and then it was the Mastodon. They changed it in, you know, Mighty Morphin for whatever reason, which that's Jack, I guess. Jack is not a dinosaur. Really, Jack and Who's Who and Black Maria sort of got the short end of this because they're not really dinosaurs, so Oda didn't really give them crazy powers. You know, like Jack cannot like fire his tusks out like missiles. You know, Who's Who is a saber-toothed cat, and he's a giant saber-toothed cat, but he can. I just like default to missiles, you know, just because we have like Queen with the projectile neck thing. It just like maybe it would be really cool if Who's Who can like raise up his giant teeth and then fire them off and they come back to him, or whatever. Black Maria's Rosa Megalia Gravigelli, though, could spit fire. So if that's the question you were wondering at this point, like me, is just like, why does the giant ancient spider breathe fire? Like, how is that a thing? You know, that doesn't make any sense. I was trying to rationalize it like, man, it must have like a flame dial or some kind of device inside of its mouth. No, it doesn't. It's just an ancient spider, and ancient spiders are able to breathe fire in Oda's version of reality, you know? Which, by the way, that would have been really terrifying. You could do a whole prequel to One Piece at this point that takes place in, like, you could have, like, the Straw Hats get sent back in time. I know Toki said that was impossible, but no, screw it. It's possible now. They run into Louis Leclerc, and he uses his ability to send them back during, it's like, oh, you know, Sacre Bleu, I've sent them, I'm sorry, my French accent is horrible. Sacre Bleu, I've sent them back to the Cretaceous period, you know? And they get sent back to that, and then they're being chased around by dinosaurs that can, like, separate their bodies and fly around or whatever. Giant spiders, you know, I guess that's during the Triassic period that could breathe fire or whatever. Like, oh, of course that's not going to happen in the story, but, you know, there could be a fan fiction of it or something. Hell, I'll write the damn thing. Straw Hats go back in time. Luffy's got to punch out a Megalosaurus. Is that a thing? Whatever it is now. Megalosaurus! Okay. Well, anyway, that's the video I got for you today, and how appropriate, because this is the last video I'll be filming in this room. Now, it's not the last video in this room that you're going to see, because I filmed a few videos in advance for when I move. And so actually Mihawk Day is on the 14th, so I filmed Mihawk's video for that, and a couple of videos after that point, right? But yeah, in terms of like, my continuity right now, I'm gonna film this video and then that'll be it. And then I'll start taking everything down in this room and packing it up and moving. And the next video I'll film for YouTube after this. It might be, no, because there's no review this week. Although I could do, if I get everything set up in time, I might be able to do like a My Hero Academia review or something on Sunday, maybe. But like the next regular video I do, like with Barry, it'll be in my office, my new office with a desk and, new computer monitors and maybe even the mythical chair of lore. But first we have Capybara Facts. Capybaras, they are so cute. Capybaras, they like to eat fruit. Capybaras. I'll make a toot. I don't have to fart on command. That's not a skill set I have. Capybaras today. All right, so today about capybaras, we're talking about their ability to grow their teeth. So this is actually something that like mice and rats and rabbits and nutria, if you've ever seen a nutria, they're like the feral cousin of the capybara. Here's a capybara. It is a rodent, but it's a very chill rodent. Then here's a nutria. It's like, oh my god, that thing's coming at you, right? But anyway, yeah, they have this trait where their teeth actually just never stop growing. They constantly grow, and in order to keep them a manageable size, they have to constantly be eating or like grinding their teeth. Beavers, I think, have it as well, which is why beavers are always chewing on tree logs and everything. Nutria are the same way. Nutria are like really big pests actually down in like Louisiana, kind of southern United States, because they can actually like eat away at people's yards, and it can actually like, sink the yard into like the surrounding water, so nutria are big pests. But capybaras are the same family, so they have to constantly keep eating or like grinding down their teeth in order to keep it a manageable size, because if not, they'll just keep growing to the point where they won't be able to probably eat correctly, right? So yeah, there's your capybara and also nutria, rabbit, and mice and rat fact for the day. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video about crazy dinosaurs. And I actually just thought the other day, what is my first video going to be in my new house with my new setup and everything like that? And I have decided on one, and it makes way too much sense. It involves one of the Straw Hats. That's all I'm gonna be saying, okay? New house, one of the Straw Hats. You can connect the dots pretty quickly. It's not going to be that hard. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking, signing out.